Всем привет, с вами доктор Парадокс. Мы продолжаем играть. Так, что? Другой говорит. Мы продолжаем играть в Stanley Parable. Я не говорил.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Не знаю.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer.
Ну, вниз я уже спускаться не буду,
Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
потому что
office.
там очень долгая сцена, похоже, опять будет. Та же самая. Поэтому... Так. Я помню, смотрите, вот здесь не было в тот раз надписи.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any.
Так смотрите, да тут другое происходит.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held?
Капец, игра, хватит, прекрати уже.
Was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845.
Особо секретный.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Да, я не знаю. Я ввел другой код. Ну, давайте 2845.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons
Со
on
второго раза причем, да.
Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Хорошо.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
А здесь выход. Нет, мне вот сюда интереснее почему-то. Управление знанием. Так.
The lights rose on an
Опять это,
enormous
да,
room packed
комната.
with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Так, ну наконец-то мы хотя бы походим в этой комнате.
Now the monitors jumped to
Ой.
life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building,
Ну, это
Stanley's
понятно.
co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ну да и где мы-то там? Надо было посмотреть 427, что там интересно. Ну просто наш кабинет, что ли? Так, только 427 вот здесь. Ну-ка. Так, да, кабинет наш просто пустой.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? Here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
521. И чё? 5. Может, нужно 427 нажать? Фиг знает, короче.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Сложный выбор-то, ё-моё. Ну ладно, давайте выключим. Что? Где я, блин?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won.
Да неужели?
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building
Там
hold?
птицы летают.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go.
Ну и ты был счастлив
No longer
вообще-то
would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or
до этого.
whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Ладно, хорошо.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ну и чё сейчас? Чё, опять к началу игры вернут? Каким образом? Ну, понятно, просто перезагрузка, да, опять. Я еще, кстати, не понимаю, можно как-нибудь выйти из игры, а потом продолжить с этого места? Существует ли тут вообще такое понятие с этого места? Я уже, блин, сомневаюсь. Давайте пойдем еще раз.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Я уже не помню, куда я ходил-то там.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door
Так,
on his
ну,
left.
конечно, там может быть вообще все что угодно, и там поменяться могут сцены. Но мне кажется, мы уже там слева вроде
This
все
was not
сделали,
the
да?
correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Так, и здесь
Standing now in
получается...
this incredible room, Stanley for the first time, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Здесь получается...
And so he
Дальше мы туда не ходили, да?
section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door and got back on track.
А, не-не-не-не-не-не-не, подождите. А, это же правильный путь, то есть мы все равно здесь сюда выйдем.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Не, ну там явно, да... Опять то же самое, я не хочу... Так, подожди. Да, вроде то же самое. Я не хочу это опять смотреть, поэтому, ну, придется наверх только. Там, если что, хотя бы... Покороче сценка или нет? Та же самая, да?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean?
Да,
Stanley
845.
wondered aloud to nobody. He began. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible. He didn't even have a single minute to just
представьте,
let the
даже...
narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy.
Вот это вот, если бы я его дослушал, вот он бы этого не сказал. Это же капец вообще. Тут реально эту игру можно сколько раз-то перепроходить, что-то новое открывать для себя. Хорошо, расслабляемся.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Все-таки, даже если сцена повторяется, все равно можно ее по-другому как-то сделать. Обратить.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
А,
door
во-во-во.
that read, "Mind
Мы не
control
ходили сюда.
facility."
Выход.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Да пофиг.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Ну, вроде не умерли.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his
А,
end,
понятно.
he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous
Что?
metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him
Отлично,
instantly.
тут еще и рассказчик главнее этого рассказчика, да? Понятно.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Так, титры. То есть мы прошли игру опять, да? Телефон опять. Так, что-то он отсчитывает. Таймер. Предыдущая версия выбора. Тут нам все тут нам вообще все разъясняют, да, что было бы в том или ином случае, да? Как я понял. Наверное, это все читать не буду. Тем более это долго получится, как бы перевести еще надо. Я английский-то понимаю, но сложновато. Выход. А это что? Так, это ничего. Давайте на выход. Это концовка свободы, как она... Так. Здесь, что ли?
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now, it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Ну и что? Все, да? Ладно, подождем. Ну, короче, как я понял. Все. И чё, начать игру, если? Понятно. Ладно, короче, давайте тогда на этом закончим. Я не знаю, я не понял, то есть... Интересно, вот у всех так заканчивается игра, или как-то многими способами можно пройти? Можно ли эту игру вообще пройти, меня сейчас интересует больше всего. Ну ладно, как бы то ни было. Короче, у меня игра, видимо, закончилась. Не знаю, буду ли я еще раз проходить, там, пытаться что-то другими способами ее пройти. По крайней мере, нужно отдохнуть точно какое-то время, потому что это просто вынос мозга, это капец. Ну, это, конечно, вынос мозга, все дела, но это не отменяет того, что это отличная игра просто. Я в нее с первой минуты влюбился, и так до конца, конечно, она мне очень понравилась. И, конечно, это самая необычная игра года. Смело можно ей отдавать такой титул. Да даже какого года там, блин, я никогда в такой не играл. Ну, наверное, первая такая игра вообще. Ну ладно, всем спасибо, что смотрели, увидимся в других прохождениях. Всем удачи и пока.